Welcome to Talk Tech with Rob Scott.
Paige, welcome to the show.
Nice. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I am so excited that we had a chance to meet last night, and we were talking about women in tech, which is a topic that's really important to me. I think that the tech industry is really showing a lack of maturity in the sense that there's not more opportunities for women and not more gender diversity. It's a male-dominated industry, and we need more women in our community. And so when I heard your story last night, I wanted to bring to my audience. So let's just start with, tell us a little bit more about you and your background. Where did you grow up? And a little bit more about who you are and where you come from.
Perfect. So I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. Growing up, I feel like I didn't necessarily have any specific interest in tech, but I recently now have gotten roped into it. It's been very exciting. So I grew up there, and then I moved to California, was there for a couple years, and now I'm based in Denver, which I love. I still have a lot of exploring to do. Colorado's beautiful. But yeah, kind of a little bit about where I'm from.
That's awesome. That's a great story. So your role is what's called a sales development rep. And just for the audience that might not know what that is exactly, what do you do as a sales development rep for Todyl?
So as a sales development representative, I'm doing outreach for Todyl. If you're an MSP watching this and you get calls all day, it's me calling you. So answer. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so I'll do outreach, and then my goal is just to book appointments for people to further check out our product and see what we have to offer and if we can help in any way.
And so you told me last night that you are new to the industry, but you've already gained some impressions and have some thoughts about what this community is about. Tell us what you were doing right before you got to Todyl, and what's been your experience so far, and what observations can you make about the IT managed services industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. So prior to this, I was doing sales for a contract-based company. It was definitely a big switch up coming to the MSP and IT community, just because it's such a community. I had a hard time understanding that at first on how helpful and aligned everyone was. Truly, people wish the best for one another and want to see people succeed. And I love that I'm in an industry that's a part of that now. That's one of the first things I noticed. And then even just being here at this event, everyone's so welcoming, everyone's so easy to talk to. So that's been nice too.
That's really cool. And if there were women out there that were thinking about making a career change or had a goal to be in technology, what advice would you give them about how they might be able to accomplish that?
Advice I would give to another woman interested in going into this industry is really work on your personal brand. Don't be afraid to go out of your way and make connections with people, because in the long run, it's just going to benefit you, and you'll be able to, build your own community. Even just doing this was a random opportunity, but I'm super excited to be able to speak on here. But yeah, I think just do it. Like you said, this industry needs more women. I would love to see some more people out there on the floor, or even when I'm making calls, it's super exciting when I get to talk to another woman on the phone who's running an MSP as well.
Well, that's really cool. So I know you're just getting started and you're doing your SDR role now. As fast forward 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the line, what do you see for yourself in the tech industry?
That's a really good question. So like I mentioned earlier, I didn't have a specific interest in tech growing up, but I've always said that whatever I do, I'm going to be successful with. No matter what career, industry, field, I'm super driven. And moving forward with this, I want to continue to work on my personal brand. I love Todyl. It's a great company. Being a part of that is something that I see for my future. So continue to work on that, build my tech knowledge, because I'm not the most technical person, but that's okay. I'm still here and learning, and excited to see where it takes me.
That's awesome. And I would just share with you my experience is that People don't remember what you say. They remember how you make them feel.
That's true. That's
And,
good. Yeah.
and you do a great job of making everyone around you feel comfortable. You're safe to talk to. You have
you.
warm energy. And I think the sky's the limit for you, Paige. Thank you for
Thank you
joining
so much.
the show.
I appreciate
Take
it.
care.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Rob.
I'm excited to have you here. You know, I'm one of your biggest fans. And you, to me, represent the future of managed services where we've got professional, experienced, powerful, charismatic women running companies. And you're the CEO of one of the major security firms in the channel, Liongard. And I just want you to tell your story about how you got to Liongard.
I'd love to do it. But first of all, thank you for being such an ally. Frankly, I mean, this is a male-dominated channel for sure. And without male supporters and allies, really, I wouldn't be in the place that I'm at. You know, obviously, I am a huge supporter of women supporting women, but ultimately, my career was built on relationships that really started with men, frankly.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I know that about you, and that you have a unique ability to connect across a bunch of different categories, including gender. But beyond that, I've seen you, and you're just so welcoming to people. You're so easy to talk to. You're so charismatic, and it's no surprise to me that you've ascended to where you are as the CEO of one of the prominent vendors in our space. But getting back to my original question, for those women who are out there who see you as someone that they may aspire to be in your position, let's start with how you got to where you are. What's your background, and what was your journey to become the CEO of Lion?
Sure. Well, first of all, I had no intention of being in tech. It was not even a thought in my mind. When I had a political science degree, I also did a lot of theater, so I was really into that. And I thought, hey, I'm going to move to New York City. I'm going to be an actress. I did that when I was 20, and very quickly learned in about 9 months that wasn't really what I thought it was going to be. Moved back to Florida, and my parents very astutely said, Michelle, go get a job. While I was studying, ironically enough, for my LSATs, because I was going to be like, well, I'm going to go into law. Ultimately, I got a job for a startup software company, and how I got that job was actually pretty funny. I created a cover letter for my resume that said, this is not a chain letter, but you'll miss out on $1 million opportunity to have someone who's been a front person for Disney. I played Mickey Mouse when I was like 18. But in any case, it got enough attention by a small software company that they hired me really to be a girl Friday, do whatever needed to be done in the business. And I was just eager to learn. When I got in, I was so excited to just see this new industry, because this is this is 1997. Ultimately, and my curiosity really leaning in, learning what the business did, being able to help others. Like my core being is around service to other people. Nothing else really matters to me, but how can I help other people? And that started very young in my career. And that led me to new opportunities. So when that company got acquired, about a year later, at that time I sort of had 1 foot in marketing, 1 foot in support. They offered me, it was a company called Computer Associates at the time.
I've heard of it.
Said, Michelle, if you can make 200 customers referenceable, we'll pay you an extra $25,000. Now that was like doubling my salary.
And that was a fair bit of dough back in the
Oh yeah, this is in the
late
90s.
90s,
Yeah, for a kid who's still living at home with mom and dad. Ultimately, I was naive and thought, hey, I have to do this right away. So within like 60, 90 days, I had created 200 references. You know how I did that? I actually went to all the customers who were I handled in support, and I said, hey, I know all the engineers. You have any real problems, call me. I'll get you direct to an engineer, make you fix your problem. And I meant that. I was, again, around helping, but I made these 200 accounts referenceable so fast that CA had never seen anything like it, so they offered me a role to move to New York, manage a team of reference managers. I was VP of digital marketing and digital transformation for the company. So that was my first part of my journey, was 17 years, but it was really being in service to other people and being curious and never saying no to anything. Ultimately, a lot of people talk about creating your boundaries and all of that, but if you really want to grow into your career, I think you have to take risks and you have to be willing to say yes. Yes, I want to help you. I don't maybe know, but I got ChatGPT. You have so many more assets than I had when I was in my young 20s doing this. But it was a great start for me. After 17 years, I was ready to take my next step. And I got an opportunity. I was actually about to take a job at another big software vendor. And I got a call from a recruiter who said, hey, a person you worked with 17 years ago, the founder of Infresco was the company that got acquired by CA. The founder of that is looking for a CMO. I said, gosh, I hadn't seen Norm in 17 years. But, I had such a great experience. It got me started in my tech career. He actually had encouraged me not to become a lawyer.
Smart advice.
Told me I'd be an ambulance chaser if I stayed in Florida doing law, which might have been the case for me. But ultimately, I said it'd be great to meet you again, and it was kismet. I took that role as chief marketing officer of a company called Star to Star Communications. We worked together to grow that business, and really understand that the channel was so core to our. So I really learned channel. I started at CA, but really learned it at Star to Star. Stayed there for 9 years, growing into understanding that marketing wasn't the biggest challenge. They needed some operations. I was COO of the company, and then grew that into being president of the company and CRO of the company. I'd always been afraid of revenue roles up until that point, but I, again, was encouraged by the founder of the company to step into the revenue role, and that really opened up everything for me because, it's one thing to run operations for a business, it's one thing to run marketing for a business, but until you've held a bag and really understand the challenges of the end customer that you're serving, and in this case, we're our partners, and the customers that they're serving, you don't know what it's like to run a business. Mm-hmm. So that unlock was a huge unlock for me, and it was a great chance to expand my career. From there, we sold that business for, over north of $440 million.
Wow.
I also had
That's
another
awesome.
divestiture to Comcast. It was a great exit that we had. And that led me to what was the next thing in my career. Was I going to stay on with that company, or was I going to take the next step? And I had the opportunity. I was approached by a private equity firm to sit on a board of a large managed service provider. And that was, again, one of those things. I've never been a managed service provider. I've serviced them for 20 years, but I haven't actually ever been one of them. And so I stepped into that with the same level of curiosity as I did when I was a 21-year-old, fresh-faced, I'll say kid, at that time. And that gave me the opportunity to be on the board and then ultimately roll into the CEO role there and focus on growth and building and integrating 14 different essentially acquisitions that we had done. And it was a great opportunity, but I yearned for my days of growth and being on the software side. It's where sort of my heart and soul is. And I think now, though, having been an MSP, it's given me such a great platform to build products that actually service the real needs. And I understand the challenge. It's hard to be profitable in a business. It's hard to get that growth. So it gives me a lot more empathy for the partner. But that's really my true story of how I got there.
What an amazing story. What an amazing journey. And the one thing that you said that really resonates with me, that underlies all of it, is an attitude and an approach. And I train my guys, when they come to work for us, they work on commission. So, in some ways they're coin-operated salespeople, right? But I tell them, your income is a function of the number of people you serve and how well you serve them. If you focus all of your energy on those two things, the money will be more than you could ever imagine.
And I think it's also just important. I mean, money is something that's really important, but the impact on lives that you can have. I mean, the greatest joy I've had at being a leader has really nothing to do with business. It has to do with those relationships I've built, the careers that I've seen other people. And one of the greatest, I think I've told you this story, but the greatest gift that was ever given to me as a leader was when I was president of Star to Star. I had an employee come to me and say to me, Michelle, you've been a great leader to me for the last 6 years. My daughter gave birth to twins. They're 3 months old. They're about to go into foster care. I think you and your husband would be the right people to raise and adopt them. So that was like, I was not I was a stepmother at that moment in my life, but to get the opportunity to, actually be a mom, which had not been something that I had been able to do too, was a huge thing. And again, that all came through. It was not something I was expecting in any way, but shaped my entire life, not just my professional life, if that makes sense.
Well, I think that the important thing is, for anyone who's out there listening, is that Michelle is an amazing person. She's accomplished a tremendous amount, but you can too if
Absolutely.
you follow the path that she followed, which is a path of service, a path of relationship building, and a path of service to others. And to me, and everything I've learned and represented hundreds, if not thousands of businesses and represented hundreds, if not thousands of CEOs, that's one thing that all successful CEOs have in common, is that they start with a mindset of service, they build good relationships, and they continuously grow and improve, but their focus is always on serving the customer, the employee, and the community. And I know that those are things that you're really focused on. I want to turn a little bit to this gender gap. To me, you represent everything that's possible for women in IT, and yet there's still so many obstacles for women in IT. I look at it, we're here at a giant conference, and there's probably 6 males to every female at this conference. And in my opinion, that's bad for the industry. I think that if our industry is going to evolve and grow and really become mature, that we're going to have to fix that. And I think you're the shining example of what's possible there. I also think that the election that's coming up, particularly if Kamala Harris is capable of winning, having a female president, having a president of color, these are all things that in some ways provide inspiration for the next generation, that make young women think that there's something for them that they can accomplish. So my question for you is, what is it that needs to happen, in your opinion, for these barriers to come down, for more women to be encouraged to enter, and for more women to be able to have the opportunities to ascend to roles like what you've accomplished?
Well, I would say there's 2 things. First, we need allies across genders, right? Ultimately, we need folks who are committed to bringing more women in and are willing to take chances. I mean, when I graduated from college and I, again, applied with my very catchy, I really knew nothing about technology. So I was so lucky to have people who were willing to invest, and that I actually was smart enough to understand that I needed to invest in myself. Like when I got to be a part of Computer Associates, one of the things that they had was a way for me to go back and get my master's, and that they helped to pay for it. And that I took the steps to, work a full-time job plus get my master's at the same time.
Wow.
To be able to do that. So, learning. I mean, you have to be willing to, again, bring women in, whether they know the space or not. The tech's always going to change, so I always tell everybody, go and just be willing to learn. And if you're willing to bring in people, and then me as a woman leader, I have to bring up women leaders underneath me.
Wow, this is not people coming saying
This is a
sometime.
stand.
Yeah, exactly. These are real leads, 50 in a day and a half with a team of women. It's a testament to your leadership, to your team, and your solution, and this event. I mean, for those of you who haven't been to DattoCon, it's unique. I mean, it's a show like no other in our industry, And there are literally thousands of people here. I can't walk anywhere without bumping into people or figuring out which way to walk to get around the crowds, and it's just a sight to behold. And so congratulations on your successful event. And thank you for sharing that story about what we need to do to help women get involved. If you were giving advice, and I know you do as part of your leadership, but if you were giving advice to a young woman who maybe was in your position before you landed at Computer Associates or wrote that catchy letter about the chain, what advice would you give to young women maybe graduating from college, maybe considering a career change, may have an interest in tech or computers? What advice do you have for young women who might be interested in getting into a career in tech, and how they might go about that in the right way?
Well, first of all, I think one of the things I wish I had learned earlier on in my career is how important having sales experience is. And I think there's a lot of tech companies specifically that are looking for business development reps that are door openers. And I would say, first of all, go out and network with tech companies. Be willing and curious to learn, and be willing and curious enough to go and actually to put yourself out there. I think what got me in, frankly, was that catchy, don't be afraid to be differentiating and go apply for the job that you don't necessarily check every box for. But also don't be afraid to go and go after sales roles or non-technical roles that get you into a tech company, that then you can go and learn and really be a part of it from that perspective. I think that's a very good way in. And it's also a way, one of the things I love about sales in tech is that no one controls your income but you. And that is just, if you really understand that, it's such an empowering feeling. And so I want more women to take that approach. And like when I, again, grew up in these technology companies, I took every tech class I could that was offered to me. Take advantage of every learning opportunity. Oftentimes there are sort of lunch and learns that tech companies are doing locally with partners or customers. Sign up and go. Get networked. And that's a foot in the door. These are all different ways that you can raise your aptitude at the same time with building your network. And the network is your net worth, for sure.
That is great advice. Michelle, you and I are both part of what we call Gen X. But today we have to work with millennials and Gen Z. And in some ways, these generational stereotypes and groupings are, a little misguided, and we tend to, over-exaggerate the stereotypes. The one thing that strikes me, Michelle, that's your superpower is confidence. How did you stand in that room with those people? You're 25, you're not sure you know how to fix the problem, but you're there saying, don't worry, I got this. I'm going to take care of this. I'm going to go fix it. And when you said it, you knew that you were going to do it. And you had that self-confidence and that belief in yourself to go accomplish those things. How do you develop that? If you're someone, a young person or someone in a career, and you're struggling to find that confidence to take that next risk or to take on that next project, how can you help people get to that point where you were and where you are every day, where you're very confident, you're experienced, you have everything to support that confidence, but deep down inside, you're confident in yourself, and that exudes in your interactions, and then therefore people are confident in you, and now you become a great leader, a great, back even when you were 25. You became the fixer. You were the Olivia Pope of Computer Associates. So talk about confidence, how you can help others develop it, things that you've seen that work, things that you think can hold people back in developing confidence. Because I'm a golfer, and as there was a time years ago where I was playing a lot of amateur golf competitively. And I had a swing coach, and I'd go take my golf lessons, and we were working on all the right angles and all the things to do to perfect your swing. And at one point he said to me, Rob, I think you should get a mental coach, a psychological coach. And I thought about it, and I started reading some books. And I read a book by a guy named Dr. Bob Rotella, who is the athletic director at one Division I college, but considered to be, the pioneer in mental coaching. And he said that in any golf match, two players of equal ability, the more confident player will win almost every time. And so confidence is the difference between winning and losing, in my opinion, in golf and in business. So talk to us about confidence. You clearly have it in yourself, but how do you develop it in others? How do you help others that are struggling with their self-confidence?
Well, first of all, I think a lot of people think that I'm always confident. The reality is everyone struggles with confidence. It's not something that, imposter syndrome, whether you're a man, you're a woman, there's a point in your life where but I had, when I was, again, in my young 20s, I was fortunate enough to get a coach, a gentleman by the name of Steve Yellen. And Steve, when we did a sort of 360 review of me, gave me some really hard feedback. But he also said to me, Michelle, sometimes you got to fake it till you make it. And you got to really just put yourself out there and be willing to try. The other thing that really stuck with me was feel the fear and do it anyways. Because ultimately, time is going to pass. Things are going to, no matter what stance you take, and one that's not confident and where you're second guessing yourself all the time, or a confident one, something's going to happen either way. So you got a 50-50. You might as well feel the fear and go for it and stand confidently. And the great thing is, if you get new information, a confident leader is also confident enough to say, hey, look, we got new information. That means we need to change our stance on the field here.
Yeah.
And so I'm confident enough now to say, to use the information and data that I have at my fingertips to make decisions efficiently, but also to have the humility to say if new information comes that we can make a change. And that's, I think, the key to leadership is you got to use the data you got. You got to be able to move quickly, but that you can be humble enough to take in new feedback.
That's excellent advice, Michelle. You got twin 6-year-olds at home. You're the CEO of a PE-backed, rapidly growing software firm. What is the future for you? What is the 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? Where do you see yourself
first
over
of all,
that time period?
I love Liongard. I couldn't be in a better technology company that is in service to the MSPs and the IT service provider community. So I just see us growing this thing much bigger. And that's what and seeing our partners grow. I think we've been in a really tough financial economy. A lot of businesses have been really struggling. I'm so excited to get past this election, see interest rates come down, see some spending happen again, and really get to helping MSPs in a much bigger and broader way. That's my focus. My focus is always going to be on service, and if that takes me to greater heights, then that's fantastic. If it just means I'm building a great team of people and future leaders for this industry, that would be a win for me as well.
That's excellent, and if your track record is any indication, I'm sure you're going to be very successful. My friend Michelle, thank you for joining the show.
Thank you, Rob.
You've been listening to Talk Tech with Rob Scott. Brought to you by Monger. Monger is the first mover in providing contracts as a service solutions specifically designed for IT managed service providers. Their SaaS-enabled legal solution is based on industry-leading templates, customized for each client, and periodically updated to ensure that MSPs always have the latest protections and are legally compliant. For more information, visit monger.com. That's MONJUR.com.